What's up, gamers? Are you looking to update your YouTube banner and make your channel stand out? I'm about to show you how to make a sweet banner in After Effects that works with your desktop, TV, and mobile devices. It's time to level up. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how I built this clean banner in Adobe After Effects. Let's get started. Alright, first off, I am going to create a new composition. I'm going to hit the comp button right here, and I want to make sure that this width is 2560 and the height is 1440, and hit OK. And first thing I'm going to do here is drop in a template for our YouTube banner. So I'm going to just drop that right here on our timeline. And what this does is this is showing us kind of our different dimensions for the different platforms you can view YouTube on: your TV, desktop, tablet, or mobile device. And you want to make sure that within this mobile device that all of your important information, like your logo, your text, stuff like that, is not outside of this box. So we're going to keep this in mind when we're building our design today. So what I'm going to do, instead of having this entire box here, I'm just going to use this piece right here in the middle. So I'm just going to use my rectangle tool, and I'm going to kind of just eyeball this and draw this little rectangle in roughly the same position, just to give us an idea of where this is at. And then I'm going to minimize the background. So now I'm going to build all my text within this box. So first I'm going to work with my background. I'm going to start with the regular camel background and drop that in. And I'm going to go ahead and make this much darker. So with that camel background selected, I'm going to go Effect, Color Correction, Lumetri Color, and then I'm going to open up the Basic Corrections tab and bring my exposure all the way down, -7. And there we go. And to me, it looks like there's a little bit of color in this, maybe some orange or red in here. So I'm just going to make sure by bringing the saturation all the way down to 0. All right, maybe not. Maybe I'm just seeing things. All right, that looks pretty good for our background. Next up, I'm going to add a grid. So I'm going to go back to our project files and find my grid and drop it on our timeline. And now I need to get rid of this black background. So with that grid still selected, I'm going to go Effect, Keying, Linear Color Key, and then I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to specify the key color and select the black, and that'll get rid of our black background, just keep the grid itself. Next up, I want to change the color from white to maybe like a red or orange. So I've got my grid still selected, and I want to go Effect, Color Correction, Change to Color. And from white is already selected to, I'm going to switch this over to this red, maybe a little bit of reddish orange. Hit OK. And I'm going to select hue, lightness, and saturation. And now if I zoom out, you can kind of see that this comp is much larger than what I'm building. So I'm going to bring this grid down a bit and hit S for scale, and scale this back just a little bit smaller. That'll work. Cool. All right. Next up, I'm going to add another layer here. I'm going to go back to our project file, and I'm going to add this like red and gold dust layer underneath the grid. And this layer also has black in it, so I need to key out that black as well. So with that gold and red dust layer selected, I'm going to go Effect, Keying, Linear Color Key, and select that black background. Get rid of the black background. I want this to kind of move over a little bit. I'm just using Shift and the arrow keys to move this red and gold composition. And it's a MOV file, so I'm just going to move it a little bit and see if I can get it to look a little bit different here. Maybe like that. That's kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to even this out and put a little something else here on this other side. So I'm going to take this gold and red dust layer here and hit Command D and duplicate it. And then with that layer selected, I'm going to hit R for rotation. And I'm going to flip this 180 degrees and hit Enter. And then now I need to shift this over to the other side. And then I'm going to adjust this timeline just so it doesn't look like the mirror image of each other, just so it looks a little different. All right, cool. That works. All right, next up, I'm going to add a white border. So I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool. And I'm going to go up here in the corner, not quite to the edge, and just click and drag. All right. And I'm going to hit V, and with this layer still selected, I'm going to center it. And then I want to drop this in behind all these other layers besides the background layer itself. Cool. All right, next up, let's add some text in here. So I'm going to select the text tool and do Brando Gaming. And I am going to center this text. And select my font and make it italic. And I'm going to bring this up so it kind of fits and fills the space. So I'm going to bring my maybe 90, but there's still a lot of spacing in between here. I think normally I do about 100 on the kerning, which is the space between each letter. And make sure that's centered. Cool. I'm going to add another text layer below it. And for this one, I'm going to use Futura. And bring that size down a bit. That works. Make sure that that is centered. And I'm just going to actually create one more layer of text here at the bottom. My handle. And I don't want this one to be all caps. I'm going to make this sentence case. I'm going to take all caps off and then make this much smaller. And then make sure that that text is centered as well. And maybe bring it down a little. Try and make that space between the border below my handle and the space between the border and the primary text is about even. Just try and find that balance here. Cool. I'm going to go back to my project files and add some social media icons. And you can add whatever icons you want if you want to add Twitch or Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. I'm just keeping these Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for now. Maybe a little bit smaller. About 30. All right, so I'm just scaling that down and then making sure that that's centered. And now I'm going to get rid of this middle box here just so I can see what this is going to look like. That looks pretty good. Let's select these 4 items, so all 3 layers of text as well as my social media icons. I've got all those selected. I'm going to right click on the layer and go pre-compose, and move all attributes is selected. I'm going to hit OK. And then now with that composition, that pre-comp selected, I'm going to go layer, layer style, drop shadow. And now I'm going to open up this drop shadow tab and increase the distance a little bit, just so this text stands out a little bit more. Maybe bring that opacity up all the way. So I really want that to separate. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now if I bring out my YouTube banner template up to the top here, I'm going to hit T for opacity. And I'm going to bring this down. You can kind of see where that outline is still. And you can see that all that text is going to fit right in there nicely for mobile. And I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with all that I'm doing on here. As always, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.